In the shimmering marble halls of the Varlaxi Dominion, where genetics were gospel and bloodlines defined destiny, Lord Kaelin of House Uxary stood as a walking insult to tradition. Kaelin was human. A pet breed, as Lady Thessari once cruelly called him during a diplomatic feast. Born to a Terran mother and raised among the Uxary as part of a political experiment gone sour, Kaelin's acceptance into the noble caste had been a controversy that never faded. His presence was tolerated only because of the Emperor's decree. Let all species be judged not by their origin but by their deeds. Most just nodded and ignored the second part. Lady Thessari, a pure-blood Varlaxi noblewoman of unmatched lineage, was perhaps his most vocal detractor. She stood over 7 feet tall, her iridescent scales changing hues with her mood, and her telepathic prowess unmatched in court. Her disdain for Kaelin was personal. "You walk like a warrior but bear no true heritage," she had once whispered, lips curled in amusement. "Your blood is a muddy stream running through a marble fountain." Kaelin hadn't flinched. "I don't need a legacy," he said. "Just results." That answer would echo across the stars years later. The war began 2 cycles after that banquet. The Celadrak swarms came from beyond the galactic rim, devouring moons and enslaving planets. Their biotech hive fleets shattered the Dominion's forward defenses in days. Panic spread like wildfire across the core systems. The nobility, so consumed with their genetic hierarchies and ceremonial warfare, were utterly unprepared. Kaelin, however, had trained in silence. Rejected from the traditional war academies, he had learned tactics from forgotten Terran manuals, trained his body with Earth's brutal martial programs, and assembled a small cohort of outcasts, soldiers too defective, common, or genetically flawed for Varlaxi command. They called themselves the Unblooded, and they were fast becoming legends. On the battlefield of Skarn Delta, Kaelin's forces did the unthinkable. Surrounded on 3 sides, outnumbered 10-1, they broke the Celadrak siege by hacking into the enemy's biotech nervous network and using it to implode their own hive minds. It was dirty, brilliant, and very human. Lady Thessari had watched from afar, safely aboard her flagship. Despite herself, she was impressed, enraged even, that a half-human mongrel had succeeded where pure-blooded generals failed. It was intolerable. So, when the High Council demanded a union between factions to forge a stronger military front, Thessari offered herself. "If we must blend our strengths," she said in a public address, "then I will condescend to this." Kaelin. The union was political, strategic, cold, or so they thought. Their marriage ceremony was broadcast across 100 systems. Varlaxi pomp met human brevity. Kaelin wore a simple black uniform. Thessari, a bioluminescent gown woven from living silk. She leaned toward him before the vow. "This is only for the war. Do not presume anything more." He met her gaze without flinching. "Presumption is a noble's disease. I'm immune." Her lip twitched. Despite the bitterness, something strange bloomed over the years. Mutual respect born of battlefield reports and late-night debates. Thessari, for all her pride, could not deny Kaelin's mind was sharp, tactical, ruthless when needed. And Kaelin, for all his stoicism, began to see the pain beneath her arrogance, the immense pressure of bloodline perfection. Then came the child. She hadn't meant to conceive. Varlaxi pregnancies were genetically calculated in vitro, not born of accident. But with Kaelin, nature had overridden tradition. "Impossible," Thessari muttered, staring at the results. "This offspring. Its genetic profile. It's stable. More than stable. The embryo contained sequences of hybrid potential never before recorded. telepathic ability fused with unpredictable Terran neuroplasticity, bone density capable of surviving 0G without assistance, reflexes that tested off the charts. The scientists were speechless. The High Council demanded control. Thesari refused. "She is mine," Thesari said, her tone enough to silence even the Emperor's advisors. Kaelin simply held her hand and nodded. Their daughter Solara grew rapidly, not just in stature but in presence. By the age of 5, she spoke 12 languages and could disable a drone blindfolded. By 10, she stood as tall as her mother, with Kaelin's steely gaze and Thesari's psychic aura. And she asked questions no Varlaxi child ever did. "Why do they fear us?" Kaelin knelt beside her. "Because you aren't what they expected." "But I'm better." "Maybe. But being better is a burden. You'll have to choose whether to stand above them or beside them." He chose the latter. At 16, Solara led a fleet. When the Celadrak Queen broke through the last defense lines near the Argenix Gate, no one expected the Unblooded to be the spearhead. And certainly no one expected a teenage girl with a hybrid name to outmaneuver an ancient alien warlord. But she did. Solara's command fused empathy and strategy in a way that left enemies dazed and allies inspired. She transmitted psychic visions to allied ships, allowing perfect coordination without words. She predicted enemy moves with eerie intuition, and when cornered, unleashed a kinetic storm using her unique neural interface, ripping apart hive flesh and steel alike. The Celadrak Queen begged for parley. Then she died in the wreckage. The galaxy shifted. House Uxary rose, no longer mocked but feared and admired. Lady Thesari, once the most vocal purist, now sat in the Hall of Bloodlines, defending hybrid rights with venom that terrified even her peers. "She carries my blood," she declared of Solara, "and her father's fire. Question her legitimacy again, and I'll end your house with a thought." Kaelin, ever quiet, only smiled. "Didn't expect her to change," he admitted. But she did. When asked how he felt about it, he answered simply, "She mocked my bloodline, then gave birth to the future." Centuries later, history would remember Solara not by her noble house or human half, but as the Convergence, a being who united ancient blood feuds, shattered caste barriers, and rewrote the rules of evolution. But in the end, she was just a daughter, born of mockery, raised in defiance, and destined for greatness. And all because a human refused to bow.